Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, the inevitable conclusion to the second Durham police investigation into Keir Starmer as a result of sustained pressure from the Tory media, most especially the Daily Mail, has been announced. It is not just that Starmer and Rayner will not receive a fine, but neither they nor anyone else who was working in that office have any case to answer at all. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So last year, ahead of the Hartlepool by-election, Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner and other Labour activists and staff were campaigning in the area. They were working into the early hours, so in the evening sent out for takeaway. The son of one of Boris Johnson's political allies just so happened to be in the area and took some footage of the meal that was being held in the office, socially distanced, with the window open for ventilation, all stood up, and tried to claim that Starmer was having a party. The story was published by the usual suspects, but it gained no traction because you know what? It wasn't illegal. It was clearly nothing to get excited about, and no one did. Then Partygate broke when it started getting serious. So the Daily Mail tried to push it again earlier this year. The police investigated and then went, no, this is fine. There's no laws broken. Go away, as you were. Then, this April, the local elections were coming up. Actually, it was May, but it was in April, I think, when they kicked off with it. The Tories were on for a right head kicking, and Boris Johnson's personal approval was very low. It was impossible at this point to rescue Johnson's reputation amongst the public. It was blown. He was a criminal. He'd lied to the public. He'd made them look like fools. That was it. Reputation in the bin. So the only thing was to smear the alternative. They had to make it sound like all politicians, especially Keir Starmer, were as bad in order to downplay Johnson's character in the voting behaviour of the public. What they needed people was to go, oh, is Boris Johnson's not very honest, is he? Yeah, but they're all the same, so, you know, whatever. So they pushed Beergate again. And I mean they pushed it hard. We had nearly 2 weeks of it being the front page news every single day at the Mail. The Daily Mail, the Mail on Sunday, on the front page every single day. Nothing in their article suggested any rules were broken, but that's how they do it. They do the headline. They know most people don't read it. They're just passing it by on the newsstand. So they make sure the headline looks like there are serious allegations. Then when you read the article, they basically retract the headline. It was intended to indicate that what he did was no difference to what Johnson got fined for. Even now, the usual suspects on social media are asking, well, why was Johnson fined for having a sandwich between work meetings, but Starmer wasn't for having a curry and a beer? Of course, Johnson wasn't fined for having a sandwich, or cake, or any other type of food or drink. The police didn't mention the words food, drink, or any type of food or drink even once. Had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. He was fined for having a pre-planned social gathering, not for the purposes of work, when the rules at the time did not permit it. Frankly, he was lucky the police didn't investigate the ABBA party in his flat. I say lucky, it may not have been luck. But then Starmer did something that I immediately called for, but the Daily Mail did not expect. He held a short press conference a couple of days later and said that if Durham police fined him, he would resign. Now, people were saying this would be a terrible risk to take. The reason it took him 2 or 3 days to make this statement was, I gather, because his advisors were saying, don't do it. This was not a risk to take. That would be ridiculous. Starmer's a top lawyer. I mean a top lawyer. The chances of him not having gone over that event with a fine-tooth comb to make absolutely certain there was nothing in it, even inadvertent, before he made that statement is zero. He will have known exactly what happened. He'll have got in touch with people who were there themselves and made sure he got all of the information he could from them. He'll have approached it as a prosecutor himself. He'll have known exactly what the law said at the time. He will have been 100% certain that Durham police would find no case to answer. He is regarded as the foremost expert of his generation in matters like this. Frankly, the editors of the Daily Mail had about as much chance of trapping Keir Starmer in a legal net as they would of beating Garry Kasparov in a game of chess. And when Starmer made his promise, you could see them lose their shit. It's not fair, they cried. This will put pressure on the police. Oh, you mean like the pressure you heaped on them? Durham police have made no bones about the fact they carried out this second, much lengthier investigation into the same thing because of media pressure. Some polling that took place after this found, to an extent, the Daily Mail tactics worked. You know, there were some people who thought worse of Starmer because they were starting to believe, oh, they're just as bad as each other. Definitely there was some of that. But there was a greater number thought better of him because, oh, fair play, he's put his job on the line. Because remember that although the country's former top prosecutor knew there was no risk, the general public didn't. They saw a man putting principles before position. A woman too, as it happens, because Angela Rayner made the same promise. Now, don't get me wrong. I expect the Mail to keep bringing this up. They'll cry foul now and then bring it up ahead of every major election. The local elections next year will get the same treatment. The general election in 2024 or 2025, whenever it is. But it's lost its sting. They will bring it back up out of desperation because they've got nothing else. Labour put principles ahead of personal gain, and that's all that people will see. Boris Johnson was fined and didn't resign. More to the point, his MPs didn't get rid of him. Sure, they have now, but that wasn't because of Partygate. They cannot claim they've got rid of him due to his criminal action. They've actually got rid of him due to someone else's criminal action. The Tories cannot claim to be the party of law and order. Think about who's going to replace him. One of the favourites is Rishi Sunak. Well, he's a criminal as well. He was fined over Partygate as well. Some may have sympathy for his fine, I'll give you that, because he didn't organise anything. But he was still at an illegal gathering. He was still at an event that was for social purposes in a place he didn't work, as a senior member of the government who brought the rules in. So, you know, what if the Tories don't elect another criminal as leader? Well, there's a good chance they're going to elect someone who accepted the criminal behaviour. Liz Truss, Ben Wallace, Nadhim Zahawi, all of them agreed to serve in the cabinet of a criminal. What if it's someone from outside the cabinet? Will it be someone who publicly called for Johnson to go when he broke the law? I don't believe so, because there were very few of those and I don't think any of them have a chance. So going into the election, the Tories are almost certain to be led by someone who doesn't care about obeying the law. And Labour will be led by someone who is willing to step down rather than see his party tainted by law breaking. This has blown up in the Tories' faces big time. The investigation took 8 weeks. It was supposed to take between 4 and 6. They've gone over everything in minute detail in order to prevent the media complaining that it wasn't taken seriously enough. When the Tories have deprived us of over 20,000 police officers, this will have been an expensive waste of time for the taxpayers of Durham. And the announcement by the police, it wasn't just that no fines will be issued. They have specifically said there is no case to answer. They haven't said doesn't meet the threshold for fines to be issued, because there is this thing is, you know, you have to be certain beyond reasonable doubt that someone's guilty. So it's like, oh, he might be guilty, you're just not quite sure. No, there's no case to answer. The statement is unequivocal. No laws were broken, and they're crystal clear about that. This is not a case of not enough evidence to determine guilt. Their statement was one of, there's shitloads of evidence, that's why it took us so long. Absolutely mountains of it, and not a single piece pointed to a rules violation. Naturally, the same Tories and media outlet that's pushed the original will complain that Durham police acted politically. Indeed, that's what they're already doing. But is this likely to wash with the public? I mean, they can try, and they can say, I mean, the most worrying thing is they can say this is the same police force that didn't find Dominic Cummings. No one believes Dominic Cummings didn't break the rules. And it might work. But Durham police didn't actually say that Cummings had no case to answer. They just said they couldn't be asked investigating because it was too far in the past, you know, by the time it came to light. But the bottom line is this. Boris Johnson received a police fine and Tory MPs stood by him regardless. Some even said quite plainly in interviews that they didn't care he broke the law. Some of them were asked pointedly, do you care that he broke the law? And some just said no. Starmer was going to resign if he was fined, and he was cleared of all the allegations. If the Tories are going to get any traction from this in future, it can only be amongst those who don't trust the police, who aren't on the side of the police. That doesn't sound like a good descriptor of your average Tory voter to me. But this is what they're resorting to now. They have to. They're trying to suggest that the police deliberately falsified the results of their own investigation, which sounds defamatory to me, but it's not me that needs to take it up. Now, this is likely to be a turn-off for Tory voters. Like I say, they've cornered themselves with this, just like they did with Brexit. They've allowed Keir Starmer to back up his words about honesty and integrity. Now, usually, for an opposition leader who's never been in government, the way you nullify their arguments is by trying to suggest they won't put their money where their mouth is when they win power. Oh yeah, it's easy in opposition to make these grand promises. Oh yeah, brilliant. But they won't actually do it. He's just making nice sounding promises. He'll never follow any of them up. Well, they gave him a golden opportunity to actually deliver on something in opposition. This is a rare gift that the Tories have given to Labour. Now, by the time this video comes out, Starmer will have taken questions from journalists about it. I did think about waiting and bringing the video out tomorrow, but do you know what? I don't think his statements will add anything to what I wanted to say, and have wanted to say for some weeks now. And it's not like I'm expecting any decent zingers from him. It's just, he comes out with some sometimes. I don't expect any. So I'll just leave it there. I will echo Kat's thoughts, who suggest that Rayner and Starmer should tweet a picture of them both enjoying a beer and a curry tonight. I will just say that I think they probably shouldn't, but it would be top trolling if they did. Maybe even get a birthday cake in the background. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships, and until next time, I'll see you later.